Hey everybody, Juan here. Welcome back to the channel. For this video, we're going to go into a story time session because we're going to be talking about my longest gaming sessions of all time, because as I've gotten older, even though I play a ton of different video games, I don't play them in the same way because when I was a kid, I didn't have a job, I didn't have all these responsibilities, so I could spend the entire summer playing games for 20 hours easily, in one weekend. But now I'm lucky to get in 1 hour because you come home from work, you're exhausted, right? But you want to play that game. So we're going to go down memory lane and talking about a couple of things on the way to our Extra Life Marathon taking place Saturday, December 14th, 24 hours of live video games. That's going to be happening on my Mixer channel at mixer.com/MrPlayerJuan. I also want to get your responses about this. What's been your longest gaming session of all time? One thing in particular, you were sitting down, what was that? And in addition to that, I am going to be bringing up in this very video your responses from my YouTube community post. And as always, if you like my videos, do consider hitting that subscribe button as well as hitting on that notifications bell and beginning to talk about my longest gaming sessions. The first one that immediately comes to mind has got to be Metal Gear Solid 4 for the PlayStation 3. Growing up, I played a little bit of the first MGS. I played it at a friend's house. I had no idea what it was. He was already at the last part, so I'm like, what is this robot? What's he doing destroying me? But when I got to the PS2, I fell in love with Sons of Liberty. I played Snake Eater, but then on the PS3, I kept looking at the trailers, the incredible graphics for MGS4, so I was so pumped up that I did something that I didn't do all that much, which is I went to a midnight launch. So this happened in Plaza Las Americas in Puerto Rico. For those that do live in Puerto Rico, I got the game, I went home, I took about a 2 to 3 hour power nap, and I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything at that point. So I woke up, I closed my window so I could not see what time of day it was. I shut off my cell phone, a small Nokia phone. I didn't have a smartphone at the time, and I literally did not stop playing the game until I beat it in that very session. And it took me exactly 20 hours and 24 minutes. It was something like that. The only times that I took a break was to go to the bathroom to do bathroom things and to have some lunch and dinner. But if you played MGS4, you know that that game has so many cutscenes. You may as well have lunch and dinner, and then you come back and you're still checking out the cutscenes. But I have a friend that I do a podcast with. He's from Canada, and he's a passionate fan of MGS. And I had this challenge with him that I bet you that I can beat MGS4 before you do. So that's kind of what persuaded me to have to do that. So it wasn't even for myself. At the expense of my mental and physical health, I played this game nonstop. So that was one case where I sat down and I beat that game that very same day that I got it. I've never done that since then. Looking back, I may have taken a couple of years away from my life just by doing that and checking out the insanely long cutscenes. So I would love to know, what do you think about Metal Gear Solid 4? Let me know in the comments. And now the second game, the very first Call of Duty that came out in around 2002, 2003, I had no idea what that was. As a matter of fact, before I played COD, I played Medal of Honor, and I played both of them on PC. I remember my brother one day told me, hey, you like that Medal of Honor? I think you're gonna like this. And he installed Call of Duty in my computer. And I will never forget what happened. So my room, for context, was right next to a window. The window was directly to my left. He installed the game on my computer. I began playing it, and then he went to his upstairs apartment on the second floor. So I see him actually going upstairs. I was so hooked that I did not go to sleep. Not only that, he actually went downstairs in the morning to have breakfast, and I saw him walking downstairs, and that was my one time where I was going like, damn! How many hours did I play this damn game for? Because the footage that you're looking at right now, I actually downloaded the demo to the original Call of Duty, which I didn't even know that would run on my computer, the Windows 10, and I really enjoy playing the demo now. And I kind of feel like playing the original game, but I don't have it. And it's like 20 bucks on Xbox Live, which is like, what? Call of Duty games, like their prices just do not go down. They're kind of like Nintendo games, but the voiceover was really good. Think about that time in video games. Voiceovers were still, they were okay, right? They got the job done, but this was the first time that I was like, man, I am in war. And I did all these massive 8 to 9 hour sessions a daily, playing offline, playing online, checking out some of the modding community.
March back to the church with me. The rest of you, hold this position!
I kind of do feel like going back to these games at some point, so if you'd like me to do a stream or some kind of overall impressions video about those games and Call of Duty in general, let me know, because I know nowadays it's very easy to poke fun at the people that just like the Call of Duty games, but these games were absolutely revolutionary. Not just the original one, the first three. We're talking about Modern Warfare. I loved World at War, the first one that had the zombies mode. And just talking about them, I kind of feel like playing them right now. The third game I want to talk about is WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 for the PlayStation 2. So I've been not only just a huge wrestling fan, I've been a fan of wrestling games pretty much all my life, even before I began watching WWF or WCW, and I played the PS1 games and I loved them. But when we switched to the PS2, especially with the first and the second SmackDown vs. Raw games, they did have online components, and the fact that I was able to play with friends for so long meant that I could create a character, take that character online. The lobby system was weird. This was before you had a dedicated account with your username. So people like the kids nowadays, if you have a PS4, an Xbox One, or even on Steam, you know, you can go into any online game and you have your account there with your username. That was not the case with the PlayStation 2. You would have to almost compete with people and be the first to get that game if you wanted to get a lock-in on that username. And I played so many hours of this game online that the timer on the lower right side of the screen would cap off at 99.99. So think about the fact that we dedicated over an hour and a half to playing one specific match. That's because you could stack tables upon each other, and you really weren't supposed to do that. So once we found that out, we would actually modify our entire moveset so you would be able to see, like, can you German suplex somebody off of 1, 2, or maybe 3 tables? Some of the footage that you're looking at right now, I posted in a video a very long time ago, but this is original footage from that time that I used to play online. Unfortunately, wrestling games have gotten a little boring since then, but I will never forget my time with SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. And before we get to your responses in this video, let's talk about my previous experiences with Extra Life Marathon. So once again, those are 24 hours that you're not just playing games, you're not sleeping, you're challenging yourself to do as much as you can to raise funds, in our case, for the San Jorge Children's Foundation of Puerto Rico. The first time that my wife and I did the marathon was in 2015, and we did it by ourselves here at home. We streamed it live on Twitch, and it was going fine up until, like, I want to say 2 to 3 a.m. I fell asleep leaning against this wall as we were looking at that television right there, and people in chat told us, you know what? Just go to sleep. So we were not able to complete the 24 hours because we fell asleep, and we eventually just went to bed, but we did complete them a week later. Now, the year after, in 2016, we were able to bring in 2 friends because the more the merrier, you know, you get to help each other. But a very scary experience happened before we even went live. So unlike the first one where we did it here, the second one, we did it in our living room because that way all of us could sit around the television. But when I woke up, after everything was prepared, we had a bunch of controllers, PS3, Wii, PS4, all this stuff. I get out of my bed and I yell to my wife, I can't move because I'm so dizzy. I've never suffered from vertigo or anything like that. I think it was the anxiety, as somebody that does suffer from diagnosed anxiety disorders. I think I was so anxious from the marathon that I got out of my bed and I literally fell back into my bed. I could not move my face because it felt like the entire room was moving around. I'm not really a drinker, so I can't say I've had experiences where, you know, I've been drunk, etc., but I can only imagine that's somewhat similar. So what we did is we slowly walked me over to the living room. They fed me a couple of things, so we thought that maybe my blood sugar level was low. Turns out that may have been the case. I just ate a bunch of food and I sat down there for a while. I thought I was fine. I get up and literally it's like a tree that was just cut down. Boop. I fell back down and I started crying. I started panicking. But after a while, all of a sudden, I was good to go. So when we started the marathon, for the first 2 hours, the good thing is we had a story to tell, right? It's like, hey, none of this almost happened. And it's an experience we will never forget because it's like, man, you spend so much time preparing for something, but hey, health comes first. So I just wanted to be real about sometimes anxiety takes over and you kind of just gotta step back a little bit and take care of yourself. In 2016, we ended up raising over $800, so we would love to be able to get even somewhat close there on Saturday, December 14th. So we hope to see you there. We're going to be playing some Wii U games. We're going to be giving away keys for Xbox Game Pass. We may raffle some gift cards for people that do donate to our Extra Life accounts. So my Extra Life donor drive is going to be available in the description of this video in case you want to make a donation. Once again, that all goes directly to the San Jorge Children's Foundation. It's an awesome time to do something great for kids, which we've actually had a chance to meet them in person and streams, talking to their family. So it really is an awesome experience. But also awesome is the fact that a ton of you actually answered this question when I went over to the YouTube community tab and I asked you. So let's get to a couple of them, starting with Sebastian Dragu, or Dragu. I hope I got it right. Until Dawn was my first game on PS4, and it was so good that I played it until I beat it. Took me 3 days with breaks for sleep and eating. Amazing game. I actually played Until Dawn and I love playing it. It's one of those games that I kind of just dropped off. I haven't played a ton of these story-driven games where it's all about the decision making, seeing which end you get. By the way, if my voice sounds a little weird, I am under the weather, but I really wanted to be able to work on this video and talk to all of you directly. But if you see my voice just become like a robot towards the end of this, my apologies. Now we have Caleb Habrick, and he wrote, I had multiple 10+ hour sessions with my friends playing Call of Duty. And I feel like when you talk about multiplayer games, a lot of people are going to have those responses because it's a lot easier for time to go by when you're playing with somebody, especially somebody that you actually know. If you want to get competitive, if you're playing a co-op game or something, because if you're by yourself, you start dying a lot in a video game, you can get frustrated and put it down. So something like this, I can definitely attest to that. Pyrox, or Pyrox wrote, once played Counter-Strike for 3 days straight at a LAN party. With this, I gotta share an embarrassing story about Call of Duty and LAN parties. So I only went to one LAN party. This is not gonna go well. So it was actually to play Call of Duty. We walk in, I have my small computer that my brother built for me. We go in, we put the computer, I left something in his car, and then when we come back, all of the modems, all of the routers were at a table at the very beginning of the entrance of the LAN party location. Little old dumb Juan pulled some of the cables, knocking down all of the modems and the routers. I hadn't even begun playing games yet. Needless to say, I didn't make any friends that day. AC pointed out The Last of Us Remastered. Played it for the first time last November. I started at 3 p.m. and when I looked at the time again, it was 2 a.m. LOL. I don't even think I ever played that long as a kid. And that can also be another situation, right? It's like the multiplayer side of things, but when you're sucked into a story, when you care about the characters, and it's almost like binging a series. Like my wife and I, we love The Office, and she had never watched it. So we've gone from checking out the first season, we're up to the 6th one. In a situation like this, that you're playing a game, you're hooked to the story. You don't want to put it down because it's like, oh, I can't go to bed because I got to find out what's going to happen next. That is so satisfying. D Wilson 334 did write on Twitter, I'm pretty sure I've had more than one 24-hour session of playing League of Legends. And that's not surprising because I've never played League. I've checked out a couple of streams. I don't quite get the game because it seems very overwhelming, and I'm not nearly good enough at games to play this, but I think each game session lasts around 40 minutes, so I could easily see a scenario that you're playing, you want to keep getting better, right? Because you lost, but maybe if you change your strategy a little bit, maybe you change the character. Once again, I don't know too much about the game, but having that hook to get better, that's definitely going to keep you playing even for 24 hours in one game. Fernando Sepulveda wrote, for me, Fallout New Vegas and MGS4 did make me tear up, and I think that was in reference to the long load times on MGS4. Those were insane. Even to record the footage that you saw in this video, which was only like the beginning parts of the game, it took me over an hour to get to the game because of the install times. But back to Fallout New Vegas, I know some people are going to be offended by this, and I do apologize, and I hope to maybe change this at some point down the line. I've never played Fallout New Vegas, don't hit me. I did play Oblivion and I had the save glitch where all of the AI just froze permanently and I cannot finish the game. I played a little bit of Skyrim, but I know a ton of friends that have gone back to this game time and time again to check out different story arcs and situations, so I totally get you. Kane Yo-Yo Plays on Twitter wrote, 24 hours consisting mostly of Skyrim and Minecraft. So Skyrim, I guess it's a very similar situation to Fallout New Vegas, but then with Minecraft, it makes a lot of sense. It's a game about creativity, so it's all about today. I'm gonna sit down and play this, but what do I want to work on? Because you can be playing survival, you could be playing creative mode. I did have a couple of months where I was hooked on Minecraft a couple of years ago, and I think that in my case, I enjoyed a lot more survival, because when you give me all the items, it removes the challenge of, well, I want to build this, but I can sort of just do it, and the satisfaction is not in the final result of building something, but in gathering the items. But Minecraft, I know some people that only play that on their phone, on console, on PC, so I get you completely. No Patria on Twitter wrote, 18 hours playing the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate in a tournament mode with friends. And I think it's weird to think about this now, but I remember when Street Fighter 2 came out, my brother and his friends were absolutely hooked. And for me, like, I wasn't really into fighting games till around Tekken 3, Tekken Tag Tournament on the arcades. I went to Timeout and all that. Looking back, it must have been amazing because fighting games and consoles were not all that great at that time, right? But then Street Fighter 2 came out, and then you got Turbo, and then you got Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate with this massive roster, so that must have been awesome. B.A. McGee wrote, when I was a kid, a friend and I pulled an all-nighter playing Sonic and the Secret of the Rings multiplayer. I really don't know much about these Sonic games, but in my case, I used to play a ton of Sonic Adventure. I did not play Master System or Sega Genesis growing up, so it wasn't up until I got some of these collections like the Sega Genesis Classics, which we will be kicking off the Extra Life Marathon with that on the PS4, so if you want to check it out, go right ahead. I hope I got this name right. Glenn Hanlon wrote, I spent 24 hours playing Le Mans 24 hours. Wait, what? I forget if he wrote it like that or if I messed up. Anyway, he played that game for 24 hours on the Dreamcast. I love me the Dreamcast. I still have one. Switching out with other drivers, there were 4 of us, to see if we could win. We did, but I spent 32 hours playing multiplayer Battlefield 3, but I no longer play multiplayer. I can relate. I was absolutely obsessed with playing multiplayer games like in the Modern Warfare era, SOCOM 2 on the PS2. That was another game that I poured many hours into. I actually ranked top 100 worldwide for one day. I made it to 98 at SOCOM 2. That's how much I played that game. I tend to go for single player games, co-op games. I just don't like to have the repetitive experience that we get with multiplayer games, but I still love to look at those every now and then on stream. Art minus me minus you, me. The nicknames right there said, have to say Sonic Heroes for the GameCube. I 100% all my games, but Heroes is almost impossible. I never played any of those games. If there was one regret that I didn't get something on the GameCube was the Sonic Collection. I think you know which one I'm talking about, that had a large variety of Sonic games from the Sega Genesis, etc. The Lost Hellborn wrote Resident Evil 5, and that is a game that not only did I play, I completed it online in co-op with my friend Keith Hamilton, with who I do the A Cast of the Past podcast with, available right here on YouTube. Cheap plug, new episode every Sunday. I'm not gonna say I loved it for it being a Resident Evil game. I loved it because it was a really fun co-op game. XD Plus NG wrote Mass Effect 1. I played Mass Effect 1 and I stopped at about 20 to 25 hours, but I did play and complete Mass Effect 2. Now, at the last mission, the suicide mission, I failed miserably. I beat the game, but without going into spoilers, let's just say, man, I got the worst possible ending I could, but I love the Mass Effect game so much. We've been talking about maybe reviewing the first one at some point next year on A Cast of the Past. Silk Milk, I love that nickname. He wrote Watch Dogs. It took me 30 hours to complete the game, minus the online part. I didn't even know that the Watch Dogs games have like a complete online component to them. I played a little bit of the second one and I was like, wait a minute, it's got 4-player co-op, it's got racing, driving, like is this GTA 5 or something? I was so confused by that. Those are games that I enjoy watching more than playing because I'm not super big into open world games, and I think that if you've checked out the channel for a while, that's something I go back to make sure I clarify, because I want to be real with everybody. I don't mind open world games, but very rarely, with the exception of Infamous, Saints Row the Third, do I actually end up completing those games. Juan on Twitter wrote, "The original Shenmue must have been more than 15 hours, and because he wrote it in Spanish, debieron ser más de 15 horas." Feels kind of weird talking in Spanish in the channel, right? Now, I played the original Shenmue on the Dreamcast. I remember almost nothing about my experience, so I can't really talk about that, but you can play the first two now in HD. There's the third one. I saw an awesome review done by GameSack. Love that channel. Matthew Who, not far behind you, Juan, with your playthrough of MGS4, I was obsessed. Nice. I also remember completing Halo 2 in around 8 hours in one sitting, which, wow, that's pretty quick if it's the first time, and playing Gears of War 2 multiplayer for about 10 hours straight into the early hours of the morning. Halo. Now that's something I did try and go back to, the first one. I don't think the first one's story holds up that well. The worlds are kind of empty. I've been thinking about going into Halo Reach with a great friend, Wizard of Gore. He's been talking about that a lot, so maybe I'll play that one. And regarding Gears 2 multiplayer, I enjoyed the story mode and I beat it for Gears 2. Multiplayer, I've never been a huge fan of it, although I know that's the main thing that people go back to for it. But for me, Gears is about the single player and the horde mode. Anita G wrote, "For me, it was Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope, and The Sims back in the day." So my wife is a huge fan of The Sims. I've actually told her time and time again, you should stream some of that on Mixer. I like those simulation-based games, but I was more of a Zoo Tycoon kind of person, just like getting all the animals ready, but then maybe some cages would break and the animals would let loose and maybe unleash hell. Not saying I did that on purpose, but hey, things were down over time. And with Shovel Knight, I own that on the 3DS and I own that on the Switch. Yeah. And I, for whatever reason, have not gone around to beating those games. So I'm an idiot and I should really get to it. Oh man. Okay, let's try this. Geraghty? Is that it? When I was a kid, I stayed around a mate's Friday evening till Sunday dinner time playing Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo with no sleep. Couldn't hack it nowadays. I think there's a lot of these games that we could binge when we were kids because the context was different, right? Like you don't have all these responsibilities. You go back to these games now and it's like, wait a minute, I dedicated how many hours to playing these games? But it's like a nostalgic thing that even if you go back, Barry, you'll let me know what you think of that. Have you gone back to that game? And then you're like, man, that takes me back to that day where we did an all-nighter. I think that's the awesome thing about having that memory. And the last answer comes to us from Mark Nicholl or Mark Nicholl. Man, I'm sorry. I know you told me at one time on a stream how to pronounce it, so you can definitely own me. Go to the comments and correct me, my friend. You wrote, "The game I spent the most time on was definitely GTA San Andreas. I spent multiple 10 to 12 hour sessions just exploring and finding the collectibles and hidden secrets. I definitely see why you were hooked on GTA San Andreas. I never played Vice City, which once again, I'm sorry, but I did play and beat GTA 3. My wife is shaking her head. Look, I'll play it eventually, okay? I'll get to it, even if it's on a stream or on Mixer or something. But San Andreas had this huge scope, the fact that you could be overweight but have a six-pack. The voice acting, I think that was my favorite thing about that game. The voice acting was so damn good, plus you could ride a bicycle. Even though I love talking about my experiences, you know, with the games that I mentioned, MGS4, etc., I never thought that so many of you would respond both on Twitter and the YouTube comments. So please consider checking out the YouTube comments, as sometimes I will pull you directly on the games that I stream right here on YouTube. But then I think that even though the videos are kind of longer like this, I love the fact that I can get you directly involved in the channel and we can have a conversation, because by bringing up your comments, I can talk about something that I never thought I would bring up in a video. You know, we've talked about Halo, GTA, etc. So if you would like to see more videos like that down the line, please go to the comment section and recommend topics. You know, right now with 2020, with COPPA, with all the situations happening, I don't know what the future of YouTube is. I'll be real in saying that's one of the reasons that I have the Mixer channel. So please follow me over there, because come January, I don't know if this is going to go goodbye, if everything is going to be good to go. So definitely subscribe, share, hit that thumbs up, but follow me over there. And once again, Saturday, December 14th, we are going to be playing games for 24 hours for the kids over on my Mixer channel, mixer.com/MrPlayerJuan. We're going to be kicking things off with the PS4 version of the Sega Genesis Classics Collection. We're going to be playing Super Mario 3D World. We're going to dedicate an entire block to Xbox Game Pass games. So up until next time, thank you for watching, supporting, becoming part of this community. I love all of you, and take care, everybody.